Hey folks, this is Jake Davis bringing you a video today. Back in May, I did a soapbox for bad casting decisions to celebrate Robert Pattinson being cast as Batman. Um, Now, while in all honesty, I've kind of warmed up to that casting announcement in recent months, mainly just because Twilight was a long time ago. Guy's done a lot of movies since. I haven't seen any of them. But see, the thing is, he's big enough. I'm sure he's handsome enough. He's got the look. He could look like Batman. But the thing is, this weekend, excuse me, need to move faster. This weekend, two of the villains, or the villain and the villain slash love interest, were both cast for The Batman, which will be directed by Matt Reeves, who did the last two Planet of the Apes films, which were just magnificent. It will be Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman and Paul Dano as the Riddler. Now, I personally think both of these casting decisions are just inspired. I can't even tell you which one I like better. So I'm gonna have a positive soapbox here. I didn't know there was such a thing, but yeah, I'm gonna talk about good casting decisions over the years in history, over the years in movies, and basically those kinds of casting decisions that as soon as you heard them, it got you psyched about the movie. You know what I mean? Now, first off, I should point out virtually every woman who's played Catwoman was a terrific choice for it. Michelle Pfeiffer, Anne Hathaway, all three of the women on the Sitzy show, Julie Newmar, Eartha Kitt, and Leah Merriweather. Even Halle Berry is a good choice for the role. It's just everything they did with that role and that movie is what was awful. So yeah, let's get into some of these great casting decisions over the years. Of course, we gotta talk about the Jokers. Jack Nicholson back in 1989 playing the Joker was such an obvious duh. I mean, it was so clearly the guy for the part. And while I've defended Leto's Joker, but I'm not defending his Joker anymore. I've said my piece about it. But because at the same time, everything everyone says negative about his Joker is true too. But him when he was announced, I was excited. I thought, oh, that's a good choice. That's an intriguing role. He's kind of a bizarre actor anyway. But even then, I remember thinking, man, it's a shame they didn't get Joaquin Phoenix. And now Joaquin Phoenix has played the Joker. Now, I personally am hoping there's no sequel to Joker, and I wouldn't want his character, his version of the Joker, to be the main antagonist for the Batman, moving on with Robert Pattinson's films. And by the way, everyone I know who hasn't seen the Joker has asked me about it. Asked me the exact same question. Is Batman in it? Not really. I mean, Bruce Wayne as a small boy is in the film, yes, but no, there's no Batman. And yeah, you want to see Batman? I mean, hell, he is like in comic books, sure, Batman is like number two behind Superman as far as the top most important superheroes, but in films, Batman's on the level of guys like James Bond and Indiana Jones. He's easily one of movies' greatest heroes, greatest action heroes at least. I mean, hands down. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure if any other superhero, as far as an action hero in movies, is on his level. Maybe Wolverine. Maybe Wolverine. But yeah, Batman's the top, the top of the mountain. So let's talk about, the Batman roles. Now, people hated Ben Affleck when he got cast. So I guess I really shouldn't talk about Batman's, because the truth is, everybody who got cast as Batman, when they were cast as Batman, people bitched about it. So maybe some little more out of the superhero stuff. James McAvoy, I thought was a terrific choice for Professor X. Michael Clark Duncan was one of those great examples as the Kingpin, where there's clearly something. I mean, he was so right for the role, so faithful to the character of the comics, it didn't matter what the skin color was. And, sometimes it really does, especially because they're doing it so much. It feels like a necessity. Like they're doing it because they feel like they have to do it. Instead of like, wow, man, this guy, despite, you know, whatever the race was supposed to be in the comics, this guy's still perfect for the role. You think of guys like Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White and Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, and of course Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. I mean, technically they made Nick Fury in the Ultimates. He was black in that, and he was drawn to look like Samuel L. Jackson. So that was kind of more of a full circle thing. And speaking of full circle things, I could think of at least 3 examples of where basically the audience cast the role. From like go, both with X-Men. As soon as they announced the X-Men movie, the audience, the people, were fucking demanding Patrick Stewart. They wanted Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart was no other. No one else is going to be as good a choice than Patrick Stewart. And that's what they got. And both as soon as Batman came out, and as soon as It came out, It in 2017, the next day, people were talking about Danny DeVito needs to play the Penguin. Jessica Chastain needs to be the adult Beverly Marsh. I mean, immediately, this is what the audience were talking about, and that's what they wanted. That's what we got. And that's great. Think of the roles of, try to think of, real quick, about, God, I have so many examples. Maybe I should just run off some of these. I mean, like, for superhero-wise, of course, you got Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. Matt von Sydow as Ming the Merciless was brilliant. So many of the choices in Lord of the Rings were just such great casting decisions. But to me, I always thought Christopher Lee as Saruman was so fucking brilliant and so perfect. A few years ago, Tom Hanks played Walt Disney in a movie. That was inspired. Ron Perlman as Hellboy. The entire cast of Tombstone in 1993. I mean, yeah, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer, fucking Bill Paxton, Sam Elliott, Stephen Lang. That was a hell of a Harry Jr., Powers Booth. That's a fucking great cast in that movie. It really is. Both guys who played Brewster Cogburn in both films, both John Wayne and Jeff Bridges, were the absolute perfect choices for that role at the time of those movies being made. George C. Scott, twice I wanted to mention him on this list, but they're both TV, so I'll try to get to my 3 or 4 TV movies. Yeah, I think it's just 3 TV casting decisions real fast. Is that George C. Scott is both Ebenezer Scrooge and Long John Silver in A Christmas Carol and Treasure Island, respectively. It was a brilliant casting decision, amazing performances in both films. Ruby Dee as Mother Abigail in The Stand was timeless. It was genius. It was irreplaceable, and I am not excited at all, about Whoopi Goldberg playing Mother Abigail in next year's remake of The Stand. I think for Amazon, maybe not. But it's going to be one of those streaming sites. It's going to be another miniseries. From the director of The Fault in Our Stars, which wasn't the worst movie, considering what it was. But real quick with The Stand, Whoopi Goldberg's playing Mother Abigail, and Whoopi Goldberg is a good actress. And, she's an old lady, so there's nothing like, it's not like she's a poor choice for it, but I don't know. I thought, as soon as they announced her, my mind went to Margaret Avery, who played Shug in The Color Purple. And, the truth is, I don't even know if she's alive. Still, I didn't look her up or anything. But, damn, man, I can't stop thinking about her as Abigail. I just think that would have been just really, really missed their punch there. And speaking of The Stand, also, a few years ago, Matthew McConaughey played Randall Flagg in The Dark Tower. He was absolutely perfect choice for Randall Flagg, and they just screwed the pooch on every level in that movie. Both Vivian Leigh and Clark Gable were irreplaceable as Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler and Gone with the Wind. Fucking Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I almost called it the other one. I thought both Steve Carell and Anne Hathaway were perfectly cast in the Get Smart movie. And, oh god, there's also, people who played, like I said, real folks. Like, could you imagine anyone else but Leonardo DiCaprio playing Jordan Belfort? Or, anybody but Gary Cooper playing Sergeant York? I mean, seriously. Or anybody but Angela Bassett and, Lawrence Fishburne as Ike and Tina. Just great casting choices. Wrap up with two more little things to say. It's a little like guilty pleasure here. It's not really a guilty pleasure. It's a good movie. I've always liked the movie very much. But I always thought Alicia Silverstone was so fucking brilliant in Clueless. It's a funny movie. She's perfectly cast, and she absolutely nails that part. Can't imagine anyone else playing that role but Alicia Silverstone. And I also talked just real quick about actors playing roles created for the screen. And just how that is just as important. When you got a novel or a comic book or it's a remake or a real guy, there's kind of this layout of what the characters should be or should look or how they should look. And it kind of limits you to the kind of actors you want or need for the part. But then there's the guys you create for the big screen. And, could you imagine Raiders of the Lost Ark? Instead of Harrison Ford, it was Tom Selleck. Or even worse yet, imagine Die Hard, and instead of Bruce Willis as John McClane, it's fucking Richard Dreyfuss as John McClane. Die Hard would not be the beloved movie it is today. Just casting is essential, and getting the right lead is, in my opinion, more important than having a plausible script or a logical narrative. I've seen movies that made no sense, movies that were boring as hell, movies with cringeworthy dialogue that were all saved by great acting. You can't overestimate the importance of your cast. And these were some great casting decisions. Oh, one more real quick. Albert Finney is Inspector Poirot. Fucking gorgeous. Greatness. Anyhow, hope y'all liked this video. It was really rambling all over the place, sure, but it's a soapbox. Anyhow, I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.